When my father told me to leave that night, I did not cry. I did not raise my voice or beg him to stay. I just stood there in the hallway, listening to the rain hit the windows, feeling something inside me slowly go quiet. I was 15 years old and still wearing my school jacket, damp from the storm outside. My shoes were wet, my hands were cold, and my chest felt tight. My father looked straight at me and said, "Get out. I don't need a sick daughter like you." His voice had no anger in it, Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates. Before today's story of betrayal and self-discovery, please subscribe and hit like to help these stories be heard. Drop your city or country in the comments. It always warms my heart. Now let's begin. Somehow made it worse. For a moment, I truly believed he would stop. I waited for him to sigh or shake his head, to tell me he did not mean it. But he didn't move. He didn't soften. He just stood there, already done with me. My mother was behind him, her arms folded across her chest. She would not look into my eyes. Her silence hurt more than his words. My younger sister was in her room, safe and dry. The door closed as if none of this touched her at all. The lie was still hanging in the air. It had come from her mouth, smooth and careful, and my parents believed every word. No one asked me what really happened. No one gave me a chance to explain. In that moment, I understood how easy it was to disappear from your own family. When I stepped outside, the storm swallowed me whole. The rain soaked through my clothes in seconds, and the cold wrapped around my skin. The front door closed behind me with a soft sound, not a slam, just a quiet click that felt final. I walked without knowing where I was going. My legs moved on their own, and my thoughts felt slow and heavy. I told myself not to turn back. I told myself I would figure it out somehow. 3 hours later, my parents would get a phone call they never expected. A call from the police. A call from a hospital. A call that said my name. By the time my father rushed into that hospital room, fear and regret fighting in his chest, he froze in the doorway. Someone was sitting beside my bed, holding my hand. Someone he never imagined would be there. You can't be here," he whispered, his hands beginning to shake, but she was there. And because of her, I was still alive. That night did not just break my family apart. It quietly began the story of who I would become. Before that night, our house on Maple Grove Lane felt like a place where time moved slowly. It was a brown brick home with a narrow porch and a creaky screen door that never closed right. On Sundays, the smell of fried chicken and cornbread filled the kitchen, and my mother hummed old gospel songs while she cooked. If you had asked me then, I would have said we were a normal family. My father, Leonard Carter, was a man who believed in order and rules. He worked long hours as a city bus supervisor and came home tired most nights. When he spoke, everyone listened. He wasn't cruel by nature, but he believed children should be tough, quiet, and grateful. Feelings were not something he knew how to sit with. My mother, Denise Carter, was softer in many ways. She worked part-time at a local clinic and kept the house running smoothly. She remembered birthdays, packed lunches, and made sure our clothes were clean. But when it came to conflict, she chose silence. She believed peace meant not asking questions. Then there was my younger sister, Betrayal. She was 3 years younger than me, bright-eyed and quick with words. From a young age, she knew how to read a room and say what people wanted to hear. Teachers loved her. Neighbors praised her. My parents often said she had a gift. Growing up, I was the quiet one. I did my chores without being asked and kept my grades steady. I liked books, rain, and sitting alone on the porch when the world felt loud. I did not demand attention, and for a long time, that felt like my strength. I didn't realize it also made me easy to overlook as kids. Brielle and I shared a room, 2 twin beds, a narrow space between them. At night, I would listen to her breathe as she slept and think that meant we were close. We laughed together sometimes. We whispered secrets under blankets. But even then, I noticed how quickly things turned when she felt cornered. If something went wrong, she cried. If she broke something, she blamed. My parents often sighed and said she was just sensitive. I learned early that staying quiet was safer than defending myself. It became a habit I carried without thinking. School was my escape. I walked there every morning, rain or shine, and liked the feeling of being known for my work instead of my role in the family. Teachers described me as reliable, calm, mature for my age. I wore those words like armor, not knowing how heavy they were becoming. At home, the balance slowly shifted. Brielle's voice grew louder, her needs more urgent. If she was upset, the whole house felt it. If I was hurting, it stayed unseen. My parents didn't mean to choose sides, but they did again and again. Without noticing, by the time I turned 15, something had changed. Brielle had learned that words could bend reality. She knew when to cry and when to stay quiet. She knew which stories sounded believable. And most of all, she knew my parents trusted her without question. I remember the weeks leading up to that night, feeling tense in small, quiet ways. Short answers at dinner, long looks that said nothing. My father asking questions without waiting for full answers. My mother watching me like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. There were moments when I almost spoke up, moments when I felt a warning in my chest, but I pushed it down. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself families didn't fall apart over nothing. The storm came early that October evening. The sky darkened fast and the rain came down hard and steady. I was already nervous before I stepped inside the house, my shoes wet, my backpack heavy on my shoulders. Something in the air felt wrong. My father was sitting at the table when I walked in. My mother stood near the sink, her hands still. The television was off. Brielle was nowhere in sight. My heart began to race, though I didn't yet know why. That was when my father started asking questions. Slow ones, careful ones, about things I didn't understand, about things I had never done. Each answer I gave seemed to make the room colder. I looked to my mother, hoping she would step in. She didn't. Her eyes stayed on the counter. Her silence told me more than her words ever had. I didn't know then that a lie had already been spoken. I didn't know how carefully it had been built. I didn't know how ready my parents were to believe it. That night would take everything. I thought I understood about family and turn it inside out. And the truth is, even now, years later, I still wonder when the distance truly began. Was it that night or long before the storm ever came? What I do know is this. The girl who walked into that house believed she was safe. The girl who walked out into the rain was someone else entirely. And the story that followed would change not just my life, but all of ours in ways none of us could have imagined. The days before everything fell apart did not feel dramatic at first. There were no loud arguments or slammed doors. Instead, there were small changes, the kind you notice only after it is too late. A pause where there used to be comfort. A look that lasted a second too long. It started with questions that felt simple on the surface. My father asked where I was going after school. He asked who I talked to during lunch. He asked why I came home later than usual one afternoon, even though I was only 10 minutes late. His tone was calm, but his eyes searched my face as if looking for something hidden. I answered honestly, I always did. I told him about the library, about staying after class to finish a project, about walking home slowly because I liked the quiet streets. He nodded each time, but I could feel that my answers were not landing the way they used to. My mother became quieter too. She still packed my lunch and washed my clothes, but her warmth felt distant. When I spoke, she listened with her head tilted slightly away, like she was already somewhere else. Sometimes I caught her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking. Brielle changed in ways that were harder to explain. She became sweeter around our parents. She laughed more loudly. She hugged them longer. But when it was just the two of us, her eyes were sharp and watchful. She asked questions that felt harmless but weren't. One evening, while we were alone in our room, she asked me why I was always acting strange. I laughed it off and told her I wasn't. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That smile stayed with me long after the lights were turned off. At dinner, small comments began to slip into the conversation. My father mentioned that teenagers could be secretive. My mother said girls my age were easily influenced. No one said my name, but the words seemed to float toward me anyway. I wanted to speak. I wanted to ask what they meant, but I had learned over the years that questions often made things worse. So I stayed quiet, staring down at my plate, hoping the moment would pass. School no longer felt like the safe place it once was. I found myself distracted during class, my thoughts drifting back home. I wondered what Brielle was saying when I wasn't there. I wondered if my parents were talking about me in low voices after I went to bed. One afternoon, I came home to find Brielle crying on the couch. My mother was sitting beside her, rubbing her back. When they saw me, the room went silent. Brielle wiped her face quickly and stood up, avoiding my eyes. What happened? I asked. My mother said, nothing, but her voice was tight. My father told me to go to my room. I did, my chest heavy with questions I wasn't allowed to ask. That night, I lay awake listening to the house settle. Every creak of the floor sounded louder than usual. I felt like something was being decided without me. Something important. The next morning, my father barely spoke to me. He read his paper and drank his coffee like I wasn't there. When I said goodbye before school, he didn't answer. My mother smiled, but it felt practiced. Brielle walked past me in the hallway and whispered, "You should tell the truth." Her voice was soft, almost kind. I froze, my heart racing. I didn't even know what she meant. At school, I replayed her words over and over. Tell the truth about what? I searched my memory for something I had done wrong, something I had hidden, but nothing came. When I got home that afternoon, the house felt heavier. The sky outside was already dark with clouds, even though it was still early. My father's car was in the driveway. That made my stomach twist. Inside, my parents were sitting at the table again. The same table where we ate Sunday dinners. The same table where homework was spread out and birthdays were celebrated. Brielle was not there. Sit down, my father said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. I sat slowly, my hands resting in my lap. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure they could hear it. He began to speak, choosing his words carefully. He talked about trust, about honesty, about disappointment. Each sentence felt like it was closing in on me. Then he said my sister had told them something. Something serious. Something that explained my recent behavior. I asked what she had said, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He looked at my mother, who stared at the table. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I tried to defend myself, but my words felt clumsy. I said I didn't understand. I said there must be a mistake. I said Brielle was lying. That was the wrong thing to say. My father's face changed. His voice grew cold, not loud, just distant. He said I was blaming my sister instead of taking responsibility. He said he was disappointed in me. I looked at my mother then, really looked at her. I waited for her to speak up, to ask a question, to say she knew me better than that. But she stayed silent. The rain started outside while we sat there. Soft at first, then harder. The sound filled the spaces between our words. Brielle came into the room then, her eyes red, her shoulders slumped. She wouldn't look at me. She said she didn't want trouble. She said she only told the truth because she was scared. My parents nodded as if everything suddenly made sense. Felt like the ground had shifted under my feet. The room felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold. I tried again to speak, but my father raised his hand. He said, "Enough." The rest of the conversation blurred together. Words like problem and concern floated past me. My name was used in ways I didn't recognize. When my father finally told me to leave, the decision felt already made. There was no discussion, no pause, just a quiet finality. As I stood up, my legs shaking, I realized something painful. This moment didn't begin tonight. It had been building for weeks, maybe months. In whispers and looks and unasked questions, the storm outside grew louder as I walked toward the door. Each step felt heavy, like I was moving through water. I wanted to turn around and scream that they were wrong, but I didn't. I walked out into the rain carrying more than just fear. I carried the weight of knowing I had been judged without being heard, and as the door closed behind me, I had no idea that the worst part of the night was still ahead. The rain did not slow down as I stepped away from the house. It felt like the sky was emptying itself all at once, heavy drops hitting my face and soaking my clothes. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, unsure which direction to go, listening to the sound of my own breathing. Behind me, the house stayed quiet, as if nothing had happened at all. I started walking because standing still felt worse. Each step took me farther from the only place I had ever known. My shoes filled with water and my jacket clung to my arms, cold and uncomfortable. I hugged myself tightly, trying to keep what little warmth I had left. The streetlights flickered on one by one, casting long shadows on the wet pavement. Cars passed occasionally, their tires spraying water onto the road. No one slowed down. No one looked twice. I felt invisible in a way I never had before. As I walked, my mind replayed everything that had happened inside that house. My father's voice, my mother's silence, Brielle's bowed head and trembling voice. The lie felt sharp and unreal, like it didn't belong to my life, yet it had taken control of it completely. I tried to understand how it had come to this. How one story, told at the right moment, could erase 15 years of being their daughter. I wondered if they had ever truly seen me at all, or if I had only existed in the spaces between Brielle's needs. The rain grew heavier and the wind cut through my clothes. My hands shook and my teeth began to chatter. I thought about finding shelter somewhere, maybe under a store awning or at a bus stop, but I didn't know where I was going. I just kept moving. Time felt strange out there in the storm. Minutes stretched long, and every block felt the same. My legs ached, and my chest felt tight, like it was hard to take a full breath. Still, I told myself to keep walking. Stopping felt like giving up. At some point, I realized I was crying, though I couldn't remember when it started. The tears mixed with the rain on my face, making it impossible to tell one from the other. I whispered to myself that it would be okay, even though I didn't believe it yet. The road ahead curved slightly, and the street grew darker. There were fewer houses and more trees, their branches swaying in the wind. I hugged my jacket closer and stepped carefully, my shoes slipping on the wet ground. That was when I heard it. The sound came suddenly, loud and close. Tires screeching, a horn blaring. I turned my head just in time to see bright lights rushing toward me. My body froze, my mind unable to catch up with what was happening. I remember the impact as a hard, sharp force that knocked the breath from my chest. I remember the ground rushing up to meet me, and then nothing. When I opened my eyes again, everything felt blurry and distant. The rain had softened to a dull sound, like it was coming from far away. My body ached all over, and my head felt heavy. Someone was kneeling beside me, their face shadowed by the rain. I tried to speak, but no words came out. Panic rose in my chest as I realized I couldn't move very well. "It's okay," a calm voice said. "You're going to be okay." Strong hands gently touched my shoulders, careful and steady. A coat was placed over me, warm and dry, and for the first time since leaving my house, I felt a sense of safety that I drifted in and out after that. I remember flashing lights, voices speaking quickly, the feeling of being lifted and placed somewhere soft. Then darkness again. When I woke up, the world was quiet. The rain was gone. The air smelled clean and sharp, like antiseptic. I realized I was in a hospital room, lying in a bed with white sheets pulled up around me. My body hurt, but in a distant way, like the pain belonged to someone else. Machines hummed softly nearby, and a steady beeping sound filled the room. I turned my head slowly and saw someone sitting beside me. She was an older woman with calm eyes and neatly pulled back hair. She wore a simple coat over professional clothes, and her hands rested gently in her lap. When she saw my eyes open, she leaned forward slightly. "Hello," she said softly. "My name is Dr. Eleanor Whitman. You're safe now." I tried to speak, but my throat felt dry and tight. She noticed and offered me a small cup of water, helping me sip carefully. Her movements were slow and respectful, like she understood how fragile I felt. She explained that she had found me on the side of the road while driving home. She had stopped immediately and called for help. She stayed with me until the ambulance arrived. She told me I had been lucky. As she spoke, I felt something shift inside me. This woman, a stranger, had done more for me in one night than my own family had. She didn't know my name or my story, but she stayed. I asked her why she hadn't left. My voice was weak, barely above a whisper. She smiled gently and said, "Because no one should be alone in a storm." Hours passed quietly. Nurses came and went, checking machines and adjusting blankets. Dr. Whitman stayed nearby, reading or simply sitting in silence. Her presence felt steady, grounding. At some point, she asked if there was anyone she could call for me. My heart clenched at the question. I hesitated, then gave her my parents' number. Saying it out loud felt strange, like naming something that no longer belonged to me. When my parents arrived, it was early morning. The light outside the window was pale and soft. I heard voices in the hallway before I saw them. Then my father stepped into the room. He stopped short when he saw Dr. Whitman sitting beside my bed, his face drained of color. His hands began to shake. You can't be here," he said, his voice barely holding together. "How did you?" Dr. Whitman stood up slowly. Her posture was calm but firm. She explained who she was and how she had found me. She spoke clearly, without blame or emotion, just facts. My father listened, his eyes darting between her and me. My mother stood behind him, her hand covering her mouth, tears streaming down her face. I watched them from my bed, feeling oddly detached. This was the moment I had imagined during the walk in the rain, the moment they would finally see me. But it didn't feel the way I thought it would. The truth came out in pieces after that. The doctors explained my injuries. The police asked questions. Brielle's story began to unravel under gentle pressure and clear facts. She hadn't expected things to go this far. She hadn't expected consequences. Her lie, once so powerful, now sat exposed in small. My parents apologized through tears and broken sentences. They said they were sorry. They said they hadn't known. They said they loved me. I listened, but my heart felt quiet. Something had broken that night, and I knew it couldn't be put back together the same way. Dr. Whitman stayed with me through it all. When the room felt too full, she stood by my side. When the words became too heavy, she changed the subject, letting me breathe. That night, lying in the hospital bed, I realized something important. Being saved wasn't just about surviving the accident. It was about being seen, truly seen. And the person who saw me first wasn't my family. That understanding marked the true turning point of my life. Even if I didn't fully grasp it yet, the storm had taken everything I thought I knew, but it had also placed someone new in my path, and that someone would change my future in ways I never could have imagined. The days after the accident passed slowly, like time had learned to walk on soft feet. I stayed in the hospital longer than expected, not because my injuries were severe, but because my body and mind needed rest. Every morning, light filtered through the thin curtains, and every night ended with quiet beeping from machines beside my bed. It felt like a pause between the life I lost and the one I hadn't yet imagined. My parents visited every day at first. They came with flowers and worried eyes, standing a little too far from the bed. My father spoke carefully, as if every word might break something. My mother cried often, apologizing in whispers that trembled in the air between us. "I'm so sorry," she said again and again. "I should have listened. I should have protected you." I nodded, but the words did not reach deep inside me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't calm either. I felt hollow, like something had been scooped out and not yet replaced. Brielle did not come right away. When she finally did, she stood in the doorway, twisting her hands together. She looked smaller than I remembered, her confidence stripped away. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. "I don't hate you," I told her quietly. "But I can't pretend it didn't happen." She cried then, quietly, like a child who had finally been caught. She said she was scared. She said she didn't think anyone would believe her lie would go that far. I listened, but I understood something important in that moment. Her fear did not erase my pain. Dr. Whitman visited when she could, even after her role as my rescuer had ended. She brought books, warm tea, and a calm presence that filled the room without effort. She never pushed me to talk, but she always listened when I did. One afternoon, she asked me a simple question. "What do you want to do when you leave here?" The question caught me off guard. No one had asked me that before. Not my parents. Not the doctors. Just her. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't think I can go back." She nodded as if she already understood. "Then we'll figure out what comes next." Those words felt like a door opening. When I was discharged from the hospital, my parents expected me to come home. My room was ready, they said. My mother had washed the sheets and opened the windows. My father promised things would be different. I believed they meant it, but belief was no longer enough. I told them I needed time, space, somewhere else to stay. The look on my father's face was one I had never seen before, something like fear mixed with regret. He nodded slowly, accepting what he cannot change. Dr. Whitman helped arrange a temporary place for me through a youth support program connected to the hospital. It was a small room in a shared home, nothing fancy, but it was quiet. It was mine. The first night there, I sat on the edge of the bed and listened to the silence. No raised voices, no tension, just the sound of my own breathing. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. Life did not suddenly become easy. I had therapy appointments, follow-up visits, and long conversations with myself. Some days, getting out of bed felt like climbing a hill. Other days, I felt strong in ways that surprised me. I stayed in school, finishing my assignments with help from teachers who suddenly saw me differently. Not as just another student, but as someone who had survived something real. Their kindness reminded me that support could come from unexpected places. My parents called often. Sometimes I answered, sometimes I didn't. When I did, the conversations were careful and slow. We talked about weather, school, small things. The bigger things stayed unspoken for a while. Forgiveness, I learned, is not a single moment. It is a process. It grows quietly, like trust rebuilding itself piece by piece. Some days I felt close to it. Other days it felt far away. Dr. Whitman became more than a helper. She became a guide. She talked to me about choices, about education, about believing in myself even when others failed to. She never tried to replace my parents. She simply stood beside me. Years passed, slowly at first, then faster. I graduated high school. I went to college, something I once thought was out of reach. I studied hard, driven not by anger, but by a quiet desire to build a life that felt steady. My relationship with my parents changed over time. We met for coffee sometimes. Holidays were awkward but honest. My father learned to listen more than he spoke. My mother asked questions she once avoided. Brielle and I spoke rarely, but when we did, it was real. We did not pretend to be close. We acknowledged the past without letting it define every moment. That was the only way forward. One afternoon, many years later, I received an invitation in the mail. Brielle's graduation ceremony. My name was printed on the program as the keynote speaker. I stared at the paper for a long time, my hands shaking slightly. My parents didn't know. Brielle didn't know how I would respond. Accepting meant standing in front of everyone and telling my story, or at least part of it. It meant facing the past without hiding from it. I said yes. Standing backstage on the day of the ceremony, I felt calm. Nervous, but calm. I could hear the audience murmuring, the sound of families waiting for celebration. When my name was called, I stepped into the light. I saw my parents in the front row. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father sat frozen, eyes wide, the same way he had been in the hospital years before. Brielle looked stunned, then slowly smiled. I spoke about resilience, about storms and survival, about the people who show up when you least expect them to. I did not accuse. I did not shame. I told the truth with kindness. When I finished, the room was quiet for a moment. Then applause filled the space, warm and steady. I felt something settle inside me, something like peace. Afterward, my parents hugged me, really hugged me, not out of guilt, but out of understanding. My father whispered, "I'm proud of you." And this time, I believed him. The storm that once broke my life open had also shown me who I was capable of becoming. It taught me that family can fail you, but healing can still find you. It taught me that being saved is not just about surviving a moment, but about choosing yourself again and again. And in that understanding, I found closure, quiet, real, and enough. Now, when I think about that night, it no longer feels sharp. It feels distant, like a memory softened by time and understanding. I can still hear the rain and feel the cold, but they no longer define me. They are part of my story, not the end of it. I have learned that families are made of people, and people are imperfect. Sometimes they fail in moments when they are needed the most. That truth once broke my heart, but it also helped me grow. It taught me that love does not always protect you the way it should, but healing can still find a way in. For a long time, I thought forgiveness meant forgetting. I thought it meant pretending the pain never happened. But I was wrong. Forgiveness for me became about release. Letting go of the weight I had carried alone for so many years. My parents and I are still learning each other. We talk more honestly now, with fewer assumptions and more listening. We cannot return to who we were before the storm, but we have found a way to stand together in the present. That, I have learned, is sometimes enough. Brielle and I are not close in the way sisters are often expected to be, but there is respect between us now. The past is not ignored, yet it no longer controls every conversation. We have accepted what cannot be changed and allowed space for what can. Dr. Whitman remains a steady presence in my life. We talk often, sometimes about big things, sometimes about nothing at all. She never calls herself my savior, but I know the truth. She showed me that kindness from a stranger can change the course of a life. If there is one lesson I carry forward, it is this. Being strong does not mean staying silent. It means knowing when your voice matters and trusting yourself enough to use it. I wish my younger self had known that sooner, but I honor her for surviving without it. Life does not promise fairness. It does not promise that truth will always be believed right away, but it does offer something else if you're willing to look for it. It offers growth. It offers connection. It offers second chances, sometimes from the most unexpected places. When storms come now, and they still do, I do not run from them. I slow down. I breathe. I remember that I have walked through worse and found my way out. I remember that I am not invisible. If you are listening to this and feel unseen, I want you to know something. Your story matters, even when others refuse to hear it. Your worth does not depend on someone else's belief that sometimes the door closes behind you without warning. Sometimes you are pushed into the rain when you least deserve it. But even then, someone may be on the road ahead, ready to stop, ready to help, ready to remind you that your life has value. This is not a story about betrayal alone. It is a story about becoming, about learning that hope can grow in broken places, and about understanding that even the hardest nights can quietly lead you toward the light.